You know, Squid Game is secretly hilarious. I'm ranking the funniest characters in Squid Game, starting with one of the dumbest. It's definitely no surprise that Thanos, a fan favorite and a funny guy in general, made it onto this list. He's crazy, he's hilarious, and he's willing to go quite far just for the hell of it. For example, let's look at the game of Red Light Green Light that took place in Season 2, Episode 3. Thanos casually pushed over 3 people and effectively sent them to their deaths for his own amusement after being made even crazier by the drugs that he took. Thanos has downright psychotic moments like that one, but he has some genuinely funny ones as well. In Episode 3, before Player 196 was shot right in front of him and he started spiraling, we saw him shamelessly flirting with her and reciting a corny little rap that he made up on the spot.
Sweet ass tracksuit looking tight. Hope I get the green light.
Additionally, in the Mingle game that took place in Episodes 5 and 6, Thanos could be seen doing a funny little dance with his buddy Namgyu in the background. He also gave us the funny moment of him literally kicking Gyeongsu out of the group. That moment was a little more on the crazy side, but it's still funny regardless. Thanos has his unhinged moments, but his funny ones are much more memorable than his psychotic ones.
I'm sorry, sir.
Another unsurprising pick for this list is Han Min-yo from Season 1. She wasn't as crazy as Thanos, but she was just as funny. She too has her fair share of iconic moments, such as her murder-suicide with Deok-soo. One of the things that make her so funny is that she's definitely not the type of person to conform to social norms. Min-yo doesn't seem to care much about what other people think of her, and isn't afraid to break the rules, as we know she had no problem smuggling her cigarettes and lighter into the games. Some of her funniest moments include her traumatizing the pink soldier with her bathroom troubles and begging to be let go from the games, mentioning that she has a newborn child before quickly switching up when she hears about the prize money and votes to continue the games. She's also ruthless when it comes to those who backstab her. When Deok-soo abandons her for strongman for the tug-of-war game, Min-yo holds a grudge that finally resolves itself during the glass stepping stones game. She's willing to end her own life if it means taking out Deok-soo, and right before she kills him, she basically tells him that he has a small pecker. Talk about adding insult to injury. Next up is our main character, Gi-hun. In Season 2, he was a lot colder and didn't joke around as much as he did in Season 1. However, when he did goof around, he could be quite funny. One of the most popular jokes within the fandom is that Gi-hun is always telling people that Sang-woo, the pride of Sangmun-dong, went to Seoul National University. It was more prevalent in the earlier episodes, but Gi-hun does mention it in Episode 8 in his argument with Sang-woo.
Dong's golden child, the genius Cho Sang-woo who went to SNU. Why is he here?
Gi-hun also has plenty of other funny moments. There's him attempting and failing to put a straw back into Se-byuk's drink that he accidentally spilled, or celebrating at a claw machine with a random kid who helped him win. In Season 2, he definitely wasn't in the mood to be making jokes anymore. However, he did end up forming a new team that included one of his old friends, Jung-bae, which definitely lifted his spirits a bit and he was able to joke around with him a bit. Unfortunately, the frontman disguised as a player betrayed the players and shot Jung-bae in front of Gi-hun, which kinda squashed any happy feelings Gi-hun might have had. Hopefully, we might see him crack a few jokes in Season 3, as I'm sure we could all use a break from all the violence. Speaking of the frontman, our next character is Hwang In-oh, the overseer of the games. If Season 2 had never come out, he definitely wouldn't be in this video, as we learned his sad backstory in the second season. He's quite a depressing character, as he has a sad past and lives a miserable life as the frontman and a previous winner of the games. He's also pretty ruthless, as he shoots his own brother off of a cliff, and he snaps a player's neck in Mingle when that player ended up being the unlucky SOB inside of the room he and Jung-bae had entered. However, none of that stops him from cracking jokes with Gi-hun and his team in Season 2, when he joins them under the name Oh Young-il. Unfortunately for him, not all of them land well with the group. The funniest example of this is when he makes a joke about Gi-hun's surname when the group is sharing their names, jokingly saying that Gi-hun is their unsung hero.
Our unsung hero.
He started laughing at his own joke, but sadly for him, nobody else in the team found it as funny as he did. Gi-hun did let a chuckle out at the end, probably out of pity, but the frontman had probably already decided not to save them after they didn't laugh at his joke. That was great, but our next character's moments are even funnier. Next is someone that you might not expect, the recruiter. He certainly is one of the most evil characters, as he's killed his own dad with zero remorse when he used to be a pink soldier. In Season 1, he seemed like a calm, composed businessman. But in Season 2, we saw his true colors. First, we see him buy loads of bread and lottery tickets, go around a park and offer one of the 2 to the homeless people there, then proceed to jump on the bread, smashing it to bits. This was both hilarious and unexpected from such a seemingly composed man. After Mr. Kim dies in the game of Rock, Paper, Scissors -1, the recruiter forced him and Woo-suk to play against each other. The recruiter goes to the hotel that Gi-hun owns and plays a game of Russian roulette with him. And here, the recruiter meets his end, but not before giving us some of the most unhinged behavior we've seen from him. He shoves the gun used for Russian roulette straight down his own throat instead of just pointing it to his head like a normal person. He makes crazy faces at Gi-hun while pulling the trigger on himself, which is pretty funny. It's unlikely anybody foresaw this funny behavior coming from the composed recruiter, but it's an addition that adds a touch of comedy to the otherwise dark first episode of the second season. Player 100 from Season 2 is probably one of the most hated characters in the second season, if not the whole show, but that doesn't mean that he's not a funny character though. He's probably well known for the fact that he's almost always yelling, and his signature quote, "One more game!" One more game! One more game! He literally even screams "one more round" in his debt video when the recruiter slaps him. Player 100 is shown to care more a lot about money, often yapping about his 10 billion won debt and saying only people in the big leagues can get loans that big. He has plenty of other funny lines and moments too. For example, in the Mingle game, when Daeho and his group enter a room that Player 100 was in with other people, Player 100 uses his lovely voice to scream at Daeho's group, telling them to get the hell out. I mean, sure, but it's also kind of funny. Also, in Gi-hun's dream about the Dalgona game, we can see him freaking out and yelling that it's all Gi-hun's fault at the poor guy after the triangle shape they all picked turned out to be a monstrosity that would probably have gotten everybody killed. Naturally, we feel bad for Gi-hun, but it's kind of funny too. Player 100 may not have the most supporters of the fandom, but when he does talk, he can occasionally say something hilarious, although he's definitely not the funniest person on this list. In Season 1, when Gi-hun went out gambling, his friend Jung-bae was with him. Jung-bae was very minor, only appearing in a few scenes that season. But in Season 2, he has a much bigger role than the one he had in the previous season. People probably weren't expecting Jung-bae to make an appearance in Season 2, assuming he would just be that one friend Gi-hun was with in Season 1. Fortunately, Jung-bae was a pretty major character this season, and he came with plenty of funny moments. In Season 2, Episode 4, when the players are eating their meals, Gi-hun and Jung-bae sit together, and Jung-bae tries cheering his friend up. Jung-bae tries feeding Gi-hun, but our main man is having none of it. Although his efforts were unappreciated, Jung-bae's effort to take care of his friend is very nice, as well as funny. Later, when Jung-bae and Gi-hun were talking together at night in Episode 5, Gi-hun's personality from Season 1 slipped out during their conversation as he gave Jung-bae a verbal beating. The moment they share together is both funny and sweet, but it's not enough to earn Jung-bae the title of the funniest character. Our next character is someone you might not even remember, Player 278 from Season 1. He was part of Deok-soo's team inside of the games, and he was his partner for the Marbles game that took place in Season 1, Episode 6. Well, he didn't really do much before that, only really being a background character. However, in the Marbles game, he really got his time to shine. Once Player 278 started winning against Deok-soo, he let his true colors show. He began mercilessly taunting Deok-soo, calling him all kinds of names with colorful language. Player 278 was acting hilariously childish in these scenes as well. At one point, when Deok-soo demanded to play a different game, 278 merely responded with a "nah" and stuck his tongue out at Deok-soo. The funniest part of their game was definitely when Player 278 lost and immediately ran for his life, not even able to back up all the smack he was talking. 278 had one more funny moment before his death, as he used his last words to let the guards know that they all sucked. 278 didn't have as much screen time as some of the others on this list, but he still managed to be hilarious in most of the scenes we get to see him in. It's a shame the Marbles game was the only time we really got to see him shine, as he was really quite a funny guy. Next up is one of the characters who was introduced in Season 2, Kang Dae-ho. He was on Gi-hun's team in the six-legged pentathlon, and stuck with him for the remainder of the season. He has plenty of funny moments, like when he gets a dirty look from Jung-bae after asking him for food. Another funny moment of his is in Episode 7, during the rebellion, when the players are hiding behind a wall and periodically shooting the guards. Instead of trying to aim properly, Dae-ho just points his gun out of the window and unloads all the ammo. He probably didn't even hit any of the guards either. And while you might have been annoyed with him in this scene, you have to admit it was pretty funny. Daeho's reaction to the frontman's meltdown during the six-legged pentathlon was also hilarious. You can clearly see the horror on his face at what was unfolding in front of him. A lot of people's opinions on Dae-ho have soured due to his lackluster performance in the rebellion in the last episode, but you can't deny that he was a pretty hilarious character early on in the series. And our next character is even funnier. Oh Nam, the sweet old man whose death probably made you shed a tear or two, turned out to actually be a pretty despicable guy. He was the one who came up with the idea of the games and started them, and he spectated them with the VIPs before deciding to eventually join them himself. Yeah, he's an evil dude, but he's also pretty damn funny. As you probably remember in Red Light, Green Light, he was quite unbothered by the murder going on around him. In fact, you can see him with a big grin on his face almost the entire time, looking like he's having the time of his life. The fact that he's able to ignore the chaos unfolding around him and carry on in the games with a pep in his step and a smile on his face is pretty funny, although it's a bit morbid. It's not the only funny moment he has, though. The playful interactions he shares with Gi-hun are very sweet, though their relationship must have soured a little bit when Gi-hun was attempting to get Il-nam to play marbles with him. Il-nam was a bit too enamored with his surroundings, and Gi-hun was so desperate to the point where he literally had to beg the old man just to play one game with him. It's sad and a bit morbid, but also kind of funny depending on the way you interpret it. It's too bad that he turned out to be such an evil person, as his character might have been a bit ruined for someone when rewatching the series with the knowledge that he created the games. Everyone knows and loves player 149, Jang Gum-ja, the mother of player 007, Park Young-shik. She's a great person and assumes a motherly role for Junhee after realizing that the younger girl is pregnant. Not only is Gum-ja empathetic and kind, she's also a really funny character, especially when she's interacting with her son. One of her funniest moments comes from the six-legged pentathlon, where she played gungi for her team. Gum-ja was struggling a bit, but once her son told her to imagine the pieces were the hair of the women his father cheated with, she was able to viciously snatch those pieces out of the air with no problem. If I were that woman, I'd start looking for a way out of the country. Additionally, in episode 5, when Gum-ja compliments Hyunju during their conversation at mealtime, her son Young-shik pointed out she didn't think Hyunju was very pretty a few days ago when she first saw her. Gum-ja immediately smacks him for his comment, making him choke on the milk he was drinking. It's one of the many funny scenes that showcase the fun way the two interact with each other, making their dynamic feel like a real mother and son duo. Let's hope she makes it far in season 3, because more funny moments from her and her son would definitely brighten the next season. One of the loan sharks that Gi-hun hired to find the recruiter, Woo-suk, was a great side character in Season 2. His dynamic with his boss, Mr. Kim, was sweet and also a bit sad, especially when Mr. Kim sacrificed himself to save Woo-suk in their game of rock, paper, scissors -1. Woo-suk could be quite funny at times, having some of the funniest dialogue in the earlier episodes of the season. In episode 1 of the second season, when Mr. Kim and Woo-suk are having a conversation in the subway, Woo-suk starts complaining about searching for the recruiter and says that his wife told him that he should find the recruiter, get himself into the game, and bring the 45.6 billion won home.
Get myself into the game and bring the 45 billion won home.
While it's kind of weird that his wife would tell him to risk his life to join a death game for a chance of winning money, she was probably kidding, and it is a funny bit of dialogue. The delivery of the line and Woo-suk's comical expressions make it a scene that'll at least get a small laugh out of you. A few moments later, the two spot the recruiter playing Dakji with MG Coin. The way they slowly turn to look at each other with the realization that Gi-hun was actually telling the truth was quite hilarious. Woo-suk is a comedic character who contrasts well with the dark tones of the show, so hopefully we'll hear more funny lines from him in the next season.